Alright, this is Ulysses, day 36, after a long break. His downcast eyes followed the silent veining of the oaken slab. Beauty, it curves. Curves are beauty. Shapely goddess, Venus, Juno, curves the world admires. Juno was the ancient Roman queen of heaven, a daughter of Saturn, and the wife and sister of Jupiter, the protector of women and marriage. Ken seen them library museum standing in the round hall, naked goddesses, aids to digestion. They don't care what man looks, all to see, never speaking. I mean to say to fellows like Flynn, suppose she did Pygmalion and Galatea, what would she say first? Mortal, put you in your proper place. Quaffing nectar at mess with gods. Golden dishes, all ambrosial. Not like a tanner lunch we have. Boiled mutton, carrots and turnips, bottle of Alsop. Nectar. Imagine it, drinking electricity. God's food. Lovely forms of women sculpt Junonian. Immortal lovely. And we stuffing food in one hole and out behind. Food, child, blood, dung, earth, food. Have to feed it like stoking an engine. They have never looked. I'll look today. Keeper won't see. Bend down, let something fall. See if she. Dribbling a quiet message from his bladder, came to go, to do not, to do there, to do. A man, and ready, he drained his glass to the lees and walked. What are the lees? To the lees and walked. The lee, a protective shelter, the side or part that is sheltered or turned away from the wind, pertaining to leeward, accidentally against what should be the lee side of a sail. Turned the side or part that is sheltered or turned away from the wind. And walked. A man and ready he drained his glass to the lees and walked. To men too they gave themselves, manly conscious, lay with men lovers. A youth enjoyed her to the yard. When the sound of his boots had ceased, Davy Burns said from his book, "What is this? He is. Isn't he in the insurance line?" "He's out of that long ago," Nosy Flynn said. "He does canvassing for the Freeman." "I know him well to see," Davy Burns said. "Is he in trouble?" "Trouble," Nosy Flynn said. "Not that I heard of. Why?" "I noticed he was in mourning." "Was he?" Nosy Flynn said. "So he was, faith. I asked him how was all at home. You're right, by God, so he was." "I never broached the subject," Davy Burns said humanely. "If I see a gentleman is in trouble that way, it only brings it up fresh in their minds." "It's not the wife anyhow," Nosy Flynn said. "I met him the day before, yesterday, and he's coming out of that Irish farm dairy. Sorry, the F's get cut off. John Weiss, Nolan's wife, has in Henry Street with a jar of cream in his hand, taking it home to his better half. She's well nourished, I tell you. Plovers on toast. And is he doing for the Freeman? Davy Burns said. Nosy Flynn pursed his lips. He doesn't buy cream on the ads he picks up. You can make bacon at that. How so? Davy Byrne asked, coming from his book. Nosy Flynn made swift passes in the air with juggling fingers. He winked. He's in the craft, he said. Do tell me so, Davy Byrne said. Very much so, Nosy Flynn said. Ancient, free, and accepted order. Light, life, and love, by God. They give him a leg up. I was told that by well, I won't say who. Is that a fact? Oh, it's a fine order, Nosy Flynn said. They stick to you when you're down. I know a fellow is trying to get into it, but they're as close as damn it. By God, they did right to keep the woman out of it. Davy Byrne smiled, yawned, nodded, all in one. Yeah. There was one woman, Nosy Flynn said, hid herself in a clock to find out what they do be doing. What they do be doing. But be damned, but they smelt her out and swore her in on the spot a master mason. That was one of the St. Ledgers of Doneraile. Davy Byrne, sated after his yawn, said with tear-washed eyes, And is that a fact? Decent, quiet man he is. I often saw him in here, and I never once saw him, over the line. God Almighty couldn't make him drunk, Nosy Flynn said firmly. Slips off when the fun gets too hot. Didn't you see him look at his watch? Ah, you weren't there. If you ask him to have a drink, first thing he does, he outs with the watch to see what he ought to imbibe. Declare to God he does. There are some like that, Davy Byrne said. He's a safe man, I'd say. He's not too bad, Nosy Flynn said, snuffling it up. He has been known to put his hand down, too, to help a fellow. Give the devil his due. Oh, Bloom has his good points, but there's one thing he'll never do. His hand scrawled a dry pen signature before his grog. I know, Davy Byrne said. Nothing in black and white, Nosy Flynn said. Paddy Leonard and Bantam Lyons came in. Tom Rochford followed, a planing hand on his claret waistcoat. Day, Mr. Byrne. Day, gentlemen. They paused at the counter. Who's standing? Paddy Leonard asked. I'm sitting anyhow, Nosy Flynn answered. Well, what'll it be? Paddy Leonard asked. I'll take a stone ginger, Bantam Lyons said. How much? Paddy Leonard cried. Since when, for God's sake? What's yours, Tom? How is the main drainage? Nosy Flynn asked, sipping. For answer, Tom Rochford pressed his hand into his breastbone and hiccuped. Would I trouble you for a glass of fresh water, Mr. Byrne? He said. Certainly, sir. Paddy Leonard eyed his alemates. Lord love a duck, he said. Look at what I'm standing drinks to. Cold water and ginger pop. Two fellows that would suck whiskey off a sore leg. He has some bloody horse up his sleeve for the gold cup. A dead snip. Zinfandel, is it? Nosy Flynn asked. Tom Rochford spilt powder from a twisted paper into the water set before him. That cursed dyspepsia, he said before drinking. Let me try to remember what dyspepsia means. Dyspepsia. Dyspepsia, deranged or impaired indigestion. Bread soda is very good, Davy Byrne said. Tom Rochford nodded and drank. Is it Zinfandel? Say nothing, Bantam Lyons winked. I'm going to plunge 5 bob on my own. Tell us if you're worth your salt and be damned to you, Paddy Leonard said. Who gave it to you? Mr. Bloom on his way out raised 3 fingers in greeting. So long, Nosy Flynn said. The others turned. That's the man now that gave it to me, Bantam Lyons whispered. Prut! Paddy Leonard said with scorn. Mr. Byrne, sir, we'll take 2 of your small Jamesons after that, and Stone Ginger, David Byrne added civilly. Now, who asked? Bantam Lions asked for one before. Aye, Patty Leonard said, a sucking bottle for the baby. Mr. Bloom walked towards Dawson Street, his tongue brushing his teeth smooth. Something green it would have to be. Spinach, say. Then with those Röntgen rays searchlight you could. At Duke Lane, a ravenous terrier choked up a sick, knuckly cud on the cobblestones and lapped it with new zest. Surfeit. Look at what surfeit means. Surfeit. Excess, an excessive amount. Returned with thanks, having fully digested the contents. First sweet, then savory. Mr. Bloom coasted warily. Ruminants, his second course. Their upper jaw they move. Wonder if Tom Rochford will do anything with that invention of his. Wasting time explaining it to Flynn's mouth. Lean people, long mouths. Ought to be a hall or a place where inventors could go in and invent free. Of course, then you'd have all the cranks pestering. He hummed, prolonging in solemn echo the closes of the bars. Don Giovanni a cenar teco, me invitasti. Feel better, Burgundy. Good, pick me up. Who distilled first? Some chap in the blues. Dutch courage. That Kilkenny people in the National Library now. I must. Bare clean clothes stools waiting in the window of William Miller, plumber, turned back his thoughts. They could, and watch it all the way down. Swallow a pin sometimes. Come out of the ribs years after. Tore round the body. Tore around, where was I? They could, and watch it all the way down. Swallow a pin sometimes. Come out of the ribs years after. Tore round the body. Changing biliary duct. Spleen squirting liver. Gastric juice coils of intestines. Like pipes. But the poor buffer would have to stand all the time with his insides entrails on show. Science. A cenar teco. What does that teco mean? Tonight, perhaps. Don Giovanni, thou hast me invited to come to supper tonight. The rum-dum doesn't go properly. Keys, 2 months, if I get Nanetti to. That'll be £2.10, about £2.08. 3 Hines owes me. 2.11. Prescott's ad. 2.15. 5 guineas about. On the pig's back. Could buy one of those silk petticoats for Molly. Color of her new garters. Today. Not think. Toward the south, then. What about English watering places? Brighton. Margate. Piers by moonlight. Her voice floating out. Those lovely seaside girls. Against John Long's, a drowsing loafer lounged in heavy thought, gnawing a crusted knuckle. Handy man wants job. Small wages. Will eat anything. Mr. Bloom turned at Gray's confectioner's window of unbought tarts and passed the Reverend Thomas Connellan's bookstore. Why I left the Church of Rome, bird's nest. Women run him. They say they used to give pauper children soup to change to Protestants in the time of the potato blight. Society over the way Papa went to for the conversion of poor Jews. Same bait. Why we left the Church of Rome? A blind stripling stood tapping the curbstone with his slender cane. No tram in sight. Wants to cross. Stripling. A youth. Do you want to cross? Mr. Bloom asked. The blind stripling did not answer. Stripling. His wall face frowned weakly. He moved his head uncertainly. You're in Dawson Street, Mr. Bloom said. Molesworth Street is opposite. Do you want to cross? There's nothing in the way. The cane moved out, trembling to the left. Mr. Bloom's eye followed its line and saw again the dye works van drawn up before Drago's, where I saw his brilliantined hair, just when I was. Horse drooping, driver in John Long's, shaking his drouth. There's a van there, Mr. Bloom said, but it's not moving. I'll see you across. Do you want to go to Molesworth Street? Yes, the stripling answered. South Frederick Street. Come, Mr. Bloom said. He touched the thin elbow gently, then took the limp, seeing hand to guide it forward. Say something to him. Better not do the condescending. They mistrust what you tell them. Pass a common remark. The rain kept off. No answer. Stains on his coat. Slobbers. His food, I suppose. Tastes all different for him. Have to be spoon-fed first. Like a child's hand, his hand. Like Millie's was. Sensitive. Sizing me up, I dare say, for my hand. Wonder if he has a name. Van. Keep his cane clear of the horse's legs. Tired drudge, get his doze. That's right. Clear. Behind a bull. In front of a horse. Thanks, sir. Knows I'm a man. Voice. Right now. First turn to the left. The blind stripling tapped the curbstone and went on his way, drawing his cane back, feeling again. Mr. Bloom walked behind the eyeless feet, a flat-cut suit of herringbone tweed. Poor young fellow, how on earth did he know that van was there? Must have felt it. See things in their foreheads, perhaps. Kind of sense of volume. Weight would he feel if something was removed? Feel a gap. Queer idea of Dumplin he must have, tapping his way round by the stones. Could he walk in a beeline if he hadn't that cane? Bloodless, pious face, like a fellow going in to be a priest. Penrose, that was that chap's name. Look at all the things they can learn to do. Read with their fingers. Tune pianos. Or we are surprised they have any brains. Why we think a deformed person or hunchback clever if he says something we might say. Of course, the other senses are more. Embroider, plate baskets, people ought to help. Work basket I could buy Molly's birthday. Hates sewing. Might take an objection. Dark men, they call them. Sense of smell must be stronger too. Smells on all sides bunched together. Each person too. Then the spring, the summer, smells, tastes. They say you can't taste wines with your eyes shut, or a cold in the head. Also, smoke in the dark, they say, get no pleasure. And with a woman, for instance, more shameless not seeing. That girl passing the Stewart Institution, head in the air, looking at me. I have them all on. Must be strange not to see her. Kind of a form in his mind's eye. The voice, temperature when he touches her with his fingers, must almost see the lines, the curves. His hands in her hair, for instance. Say it was black, for instance. Good, we call it black. Then passing over her white skin, different feel, perhaps. Feeling of white. Post office, must answer. Fag today. Send her postal order 2 shillings, half a crown. Accept my little present. Stationer's just here too. Wait, think over it. With a gentle finger he felt ever so slowly the hair combed back above his ears. Again, fibers of fine, fine straw. Then, gently his finger felt the skin of his right cheek. Downy hair there too. Not smooth enough. The belly is the smoothest. No one about. Then he goes into Frederick Street. Perhaps to Levinson's Dancing Academy. Piano. Might be settling my braces. Walking by Doran's public house, he slid his hand between waistcoat and trousers, and pulling aside his shirt gently, felt a slack fold of his belly. But I know it's white-yellow. Want to try in the dark to see. He withdrew his hand and pulled his dress too. Poor fellow. Quite a boy. Terrible. Really terrible. What dreams would he have, not seeing? Life a dream for him. Where is the justice being born that way? All those women and children excursion beanfest burned and drowned in New York. Holocaust. Karma, they call that transmigration for sins you did in a past life for reincarnation, met him pike hoses. Dear, dear, dear. Pity, of course, but somehow you can't cotton on them in some way. Sir Frederick Falconer going into the Freemasons' Hall, solemn as Troy, after his good lunch on Earl's Fort Terrace. Old legal cronies carrying a magnum. Tales of the bench and ass sizes and annals of the Blue Coat School. I sentenced him to 10 years. I suppose he'd turn up his nose at that stuff. I drank. Vintage wine for them. Vintage wine for them, the year marked on a dusty bottle. Has his own ideas of justice in the recorder's court. Well-meaning old man. Police charge sheets crammed with cases get their percentage manufacturing crime. Sends them to the right about. The devil on moneylenders. Gave Reuben J. a great straw calling. Now he's really what they call a dirty Jew. Power those judges have. Crusty old topers in wigs. Bear with a sore paw. And may the Lord have mercy on your soul. Hello, placard. Merest Bazaar. His Excellency, the Lord Lieutenant. 16th today it is. In aid of funds for Mercer's Hospital. The Messiah was first given for that. Yes, handle. What about going out there? Ballsbridge. Dropping on keys. No use sticking to him like a leech. Wear out my welcome. Sure to know someone on the gate. Mr. Bloom came to Kildare Street. First I must. Library. Straw hat and sunlight. Tan shoes. Turned up trousers. It is. His heart quacked softly. To the right, museum. Goddesses. He swerved to the right. Is it? Almost certain. Won't look. Wine in my face. Why did I? Too heady. Yes, it is. The walk. Not see. Get on. Making for the museum gate with long windy strides, he lifted his eyes. Handsome building. Sir Thomas Deane design. Not following me? Didn't see, perhaps. Light in his eyes. The flutter of his breath came forth in short sighs. Quick. Cold statues quiet there. Safe in a minute. No, they didn't see me. After 2. Just at the gate. My heart, his eyes beating, looked steadfastly at cream curves of stone. Sir Thomas Deane was the Greek architecture. Looking for something, His hasty hand went quick into a pocket, took out, read unfolded, Agendeth Netaim. Where did I? Busy looking for. He thrust back quickly Agendeth. Afternoon, she said. I am looking for that. Yes, that. Try all pockets. Handker. Freeman, where did I? Ah, yes, trousers. Purse. Potato, where did I? Hurry, walk quietly. Moment more, my heart. His hand looking for the where did I put, found in his hip pocket soap lotion, have to call, tepid paper stuck. Ah, soap there. Yes. Gate. Safe. That's the end of that chapter.